A tenant in my home got pregnant and said she'll be moving to my room with baby daddy because it's bigger. So, I kicked her out. When my grandmother died last year, she left me her house. I was 18 trying to cover bills. So, I rented out 3 bedrooms, month-to-month contracts, $400 each. Strict rules, no drugs, no unauthorized guests, no giving keys to boyfriends. Susan moved in 3 years ago when my grandmother was alive. She was 19 in college, supposed to graduate and leave. Then she met Mike. He was 25, worked construction maybe 20 hours a week. Every time Susan mentioned school, he'd make comments about how college was a waste, how women should focus on family. I watched her drop out completely. 6 months after my grandmother passed, Susan told me she was pregnant. She started talking about baby-proofing the house. I said, decorate your room, but the rest stays as is. She didn't like that. One day, I came home to turtle statues all over my living room. I moved them back. She screamed at me for an hour, blamed pregnancy hormones. My other roommates, Jack and Kim, started complaining too. Susan made weird comments to Jack about his boyfriend, went through Kim's closet without asking. Last month, Susan sat me down, had a whole speech prepared. She said she wanted Mike to move in, that she'd looked at apartments, but nothing compared to my house. Then she dropped it. I've been thinking, she said, your master bedroom has that office attachment. Perfect nursery. You could take my smaller room. You're just one person. I stared at her. This is my house. My room. She kept going. When Jack or Kim move out, the baby can have their rooms. Mike's already excited. I told her absolutely not. You're month to month. You have 0 say. Mike's not moving in. He broke my furniture, borrowed my stuff, never returned it. Tried bringing alcohol into a house with minors. He's not welcome. Her face went cold. Well, she smiled. I already gave Mike a key. He's been staying here while you're at work for 2 weeks. My stomach dropped. I have cameras. She didn't know about them. Small ones in common areas. My uncle installed them after a neighborhood break-in. That night, I checked the footage. Mike had been there 14 straight days, letting himself in at 9 o'clock a.m., making breakfast, using my coffee, my food, watching my TV, napping on my grandmother's couch. One day, he brought 3 friends over, drinking my beer, smoking in my house. I called my uncle immediately. His lawyer reviewed the contract. She'd violated it multiple ways. Unauthorized key, unauthorized guest. I sent Susan official notice via email, text, and certified mail. 11 o'clock p.m., we are not renewing your contract. 30 days to vacate. Next morning, Locksmith came at 7 o'clock a.m. Changed every lock. Susan showed up at noon with Mike, both screaming through my door, threatening to sue, saying I can't kick out a pregnant woman. Mike yelling about how heartless I was. I opened the door, handed her the contract with violations highlighted. The lawyer said, "You have no case." I told her, "Leave now or I call police." She moved out 3 days later, left all her baby furniture in the hallway, crib, changing table, storage bins. I donated everything to a women's shelter. Yesterday, I found out she's posting on social media calling me a monster. Her friends messaging me saying I'm heartless, that I ruined a baby's life. But here's what they don't know. Kim told me Susan had been saying for months she was taking over my house, that once the baby came, I'd have no choice. Evicting a mother with a newborn would make me look terrible, so I'd give in. She counted on me being too nice, too worried about public opinion, and she was wrong. I'm not my grandmother. I don't owe her anything because she made bad choices. My uncle's lawyer said if she sues, we have evidence to countersue. Broken furniture, unauthorized occupancy, contract violations. After Susan left, I noticed my bedroom door wasn't closing right. The frame had fresh scratches around the lock, like someone had been picking it. I searched my room and found things moved. Jewelry relocated, clothes rearranged. Under my bed was a baby monitor receiver, still on. I followed the signal and found the transmitter in my closet pointed at my bed. Susan had been listening to me sleep for weeks, learning my schedule. The receiver crackled with static. Then I heard breathing that wasn't coming from the speaker. It was coming from inside my closet. I froze. Like actually froze. My hand was still on the closet door handle, and I could feel my pulse in my throat. The baby monitor in my other hand kept crackling with that static sound, but the breathing was different. It was right there. Real. Human. Someone was literally in my closet. I backed away from the door slowly, trying not to make noise. My phone was on my nightstand. I grabbed it and called my uncle. My hands were shaking so bad I almost dropped it. He picked up on the second ring. "Hey, what's up?" "Someone's in my closet." I barely whispered it. "What?" "There's someone in my closet. Right now. I can hear them breathing. Don't open it. Do not open that door. I'm calling the police and I'll be there in 10 minutes. Get out of the room." But I could hear movement now. Fabric shifting. The person inside was moving around. Then a phone notification dinged from inside the closet. They had their phone in there with them. They weren't leaving. They were waiting. I stepped back further, keeping my eyes locked on that closet door. My bedroom door was behind me. I could run, just bolt out and wait downstairs for my uncle and the cops. But something in me couldn't move. This was my room, my house, and someone had been hiding in there watching me. I heard my uncle's truck pull into the driveway like 8 minutes later. Fastest he'd ever driven. He didn't even knock, just came straight through the front door. I'd left it unlocked. His footsteps were heavy coming up the stairs. He had his old baseball bat with him, the aluminum one from when he played in college. We stood on either side of the closet door. He looked at me, mouthed, "Ready?" And I nodded even though I wasn't. He counted down with his fingers. 3, 2, 1. He yanked the door open. Mike was crammed in there between my winter coats and the boxes where I keep old photos. He was sitting on the floor with his knees pulled up to his chest and his phone in his hand. The camera app was open. pointed directly at where my bed was. When he saw us, his eyes went huge. "I can explain," he started, but my uncle grabbed him by the front of his shirt and literally dragged him out of the closet. Mike stumbled, knocked over a stack of shoeboxes. That's when I saw the rest of it. There was a sleeping bag wadded up in the corner, a gallon jug of water, half empty, protein bar wrappers, a small camping lantern, the kind you take hiking. This dude had been living in my closet, actually living in there, like he'd set up a whole camp. My uncle slammed Mike against the wall, not hard enough to hurt him, but hard enough that Mike knew he wasn't playing. "How long?" His voice was scary calm. Mike didn't answer, just stared at the floor. "How long have you been in here?" Still nothing. My uncle pressed harder. "Answer me." "I don't know, man. Like a week, maybe?" "Try again." Mike's voice cracked. 6 weeks. The room tilted. 6 weeks. That's a month and a half. 42 days of this guy hiding in my closet, watching me sleep, listening to me change clothes, seeing everything. I felt like I was going to throw up. The baby monitor under my bed started crackling again. I looked down. There was a second one I hadn't noticed before, and a third one near my dresser. Mike had wired my entire room with these things. "Check his bag," my uncle said, still holding Mike against the wall. There was a backpack in the corner of the closet, dark blue, shoved behind some storage bins. I pulled it out and dumped everything onto my bed. Notebooks fell out first. 3 spiral notebooks, the cheap kind you get at dollar stores. I opened the first one, page after page of my schedule written in pencil. Small handwriting, really neat. Leaves house 8:15 a.m., arrives work 8:45 a.m., lunch break 12:30 p.m., usually Subway or packed sandwich. Returns home 6:30 p.m., grocery shopping. Thursdays after work, usually 7 p.m., Target or Kroger. Gym Tuesdays and Saturdays, 7 a.m. Every single day was documented like this. What time I left, what time I came back, where I went, what I was wearing sometimes. Each entry was dated. I flipped to the beginning of the notebook. January 14th. It was April now. He'd been tracking me for months. "What the hell is wrong with you?" I couldn't even look at him. My uncle took the notebook from me, flipped through it. His jaw got tight. "This is stalking. You know that, right? This is serious." Mike didn't say anything, just kept staring at the floor like if he didn't make eye contact it wasn't real. But that wasn't even the worst part. Under the notebooks was a manila folder, the kind with the metal clasp. I opened it and pulled out the first document. My hands started shaking immediately. It was a property deed, official looking, with the county seal at the top and legal language I barely understood. But I understood the important part, the house, my grandmother's house. The owner section didn't just have my name. It had Susan's too, co-owner. 50% ownership transferred on the date of my grandmother's death, and at the bottom was my signature. Except I'd never signed this. I'd never even seen this document before in my life. "What the hell is this?" I shoved it in Mike's face. He flinched but didn't answer. My uncle grabbed it, read it over carefully. He used to work in real estate before he started his contracting business. "This is forged," he said. "This entire deed is fake. The signature's not even close." There was more in the folder. I pulled out the next page. A lease agreement. My house again. This one had my signature too, supposedly signed by me 6 months ago. It gave Susan permanent tenancy with rights to inherit the property if I ever moved out or died. My uncle read that one too, and his face went red. "They were planning to steal your house." Then I found the letter. It was on my grandmother's stationery, the cream-colored paper with the little purple flowers in the corner that she used for thank you notes and birthday cards. The handwriting looked like hers, almost exactly like hers. "To whom it may concern," it started, "I leave my house to my beloved granddaughter, but Susan has been like family to me. She moved in during my illness and cared for me when I needed it most. She is to have permanent residence and co-ownership upon my passing. She deserves security and stability. She is a daughter to me." It was signed with my grandmother's name. The signature was really good. If I didn't know my grandmother's handwriting like the back of my hand, I might have believed it. But my grandmother always did this weird thing with the S in her name. She'd loop it too long, like she was making a snake. It was her thing. She'd done it that way since she was a kid, she told me once. This signature didn't have that. The S was normal. Whoever forged this didn't know about that detail. I stared at the letter for a long time. Then it hit me. I'd seen this handwriting before. Months ago, maybe November or December, I was in Susan's room checking the smoke detector because the battery was low. There was a notepad on her desk. I didn't think anything of it at the time, but now I remembered. Pages and pages of the same words written over and over. My grandmother's name, the house address, my name, random sentences in my grandmother's style. I thought Susan was just bored or stressed about school, but she wasn't doodling. She was practicing. She'd been practicing my grandmother's handwriting for months, maybe longer. My uncle pulled out his phone and started taking pictures of everything. The forged deed, the fake lease, the letter, Mike's notebooks, the surveillance equipment in the closet. He took wide shots and close-ups, made sure everything was documented. Mike was still pressed against the wall, watching. He looked scared now. "Good. Susan put you up to this," I said. It wasn't a question. I already knew. Mike looked down at his hands. "She said it was insurance, in case you tried to kick her out." "Insurance?" I laughed, but it sounded wrong. Kind of manic. "You've been hiding in my closet for 6 weeks filming me and forging legal documents, and that's insurance?" "She said you'd screw her over eventually, that you hated her, that your grandmother wanted her to have part of the house but you wouldn't honor it. She just wanted protection for the baby." My uncle stepped closer to him. Listen to me very carefully. You broke into this girl's house. You hid in her closet for over a month. You filmed her without consent. You forged legal documents to commit fraud and attempted theft. You are not the victim here. You're a criminal. Mike's face got defensive. Susan's pregnant, man. She needed a place to stay. A stable place. You weren't going to let us have the room, so we had to figure something out. It's my house! My voice came out way louder than I meant it to. You don't get to steal my house because your girlfriend got pregnant. That's not how this works. The police showed up right then. My uncle had called them before we even opened the closet, told them we had an intruder. 2 officers came up the stairs. A tall guy probably in his 40s and a younger woman with dark hair pulled back in a tight bun. They looked at Mike against the wall, at the pile of stuff on my bed, at the mess of notebooks and equipment. The male officer asked what happened, and my uncle explained everything while I just stood there. The female officer looked in the closet, saw the sleeping bag and food wrappers. How long were you in there? She asked Mike. He didn't answer. 6 weeks, I said. He's been tracking my schedule for months. Since January. She picked up one of the notebooks, flipped through it. Her face stayed professional, but I saw her eyebrows go up. And these documents? My uncle handed her the forged deed. Attempting to steal the property, he and his girlfriend, Susan, she's a tenant here, was a tenant. She got evicted 3 days ago. The officer read the deed carefully. This is fraud. This is serious. They put handcuffs on Mike. He started talking then, saying he didn't do anything wrong, that Susan told him it was fine, that I was overreacting, and making a big deal out of nothing. The male officer told him to be quiet. They walked him downstairs and out to the patrol car. The female officer stayed behind to take my statement. I sat on my bed and told her everything. About Susan, about the eviction, about finding the baby monitor and the breathing in the closet, about Mike hiding in there and the forged documents. She wrote it all down in this little notebook, asked clarifying questions. When I finished, she asked if I wanted to press charges. Yes, for everything. She nodded. Breaking and entering, fraud, forgery, stalking, we'll add it all. She took photos of the closet setup, the monitors, the notebooks, put the forged documents in evidence bags, gave me a case number and said a detective would follow up in a few days. After they left, my uncle helped me pull everything else out of the closet. We found more stuff I'd missed in the initial shock. A phone charger plugged into the outlet behind my shoe rack. An old phone, not Mike's current one, set up on a shoebox recording video on a loop. It had one of those external battery packs attached so it wouldn't die. The angle was perfect, pointed right at my bed through a gap in the coats. I felt sick, like physically nauseous. My uncle put his hand on my shoulder. Hey, look at me. I looked up. We're changing the locks again, tonight, and I'm installing a deadbolt on your bedroom door. I'm also staying here until we figure this out, okay? I nodded. I couldn't speak, couldn't process what I was seeing. My room, the place where I was supposed to feel safest, had been violated in the worst way. We went downstairs because I couldn't be in that room anymore. Everything felt contaminated. The walls, the floor, my bed. I kept thinking about all the times I'd changed clothes in there, cried after bad days, talked on the phone about personal stuff. He'd seen and heard all of it. My uncle made coffee even though it was almost 8 p.m. We sat at the kitchen table in silence for a while. Finally, he said, "You need to confront Susan, not over text, not over the phone, face to face, with a witness present. You think she'll admit to any of this? People like her always slip up. They can't help themselves. They think they're smarter than everyone else." I pulled out my phone. I had 17 texts from Susan, most of them from the last few days. Asking when she could pick up the rest of her stuff, asking why I was being so cruel and unreasonable, asking if I'd reconsidered letting her stay because she found out apartments don't allow month-to-month leases and everything requires a year commitment. I hadn't answered any of them, but now I typed out a message. "We need to talk, in person, tomorrow at noon." She responded in less than a minute. "Finally, I'll be there. We can work this out like adults." My uncle nodded when I showed him. "Good, I'll be here. And bring the documents. Let's see what she says when you show her proof." That night, I couldn't sleep in my room. Didn't even want to go in there. I took the couch in the living room. My uncle stayed in the guest room that used to be my grandmother's sewing room. Every little sound made me jump. The house settling, the refrigerator kicking on, a car driving by outside. I kept thinking about Mike crammed in my closet, watching me through the crack in the door. How many times had I walked right past him? How many times had I been 2 feet away and had no idea? I didn't fall asleep until almost 4 a.m. When I woke up, it was 10:30. My uncle was already in the kitchen making breakfast. Eggs and toast. He'd gone to the store early and picked up groceries. We ate in silence mostly. At 11:45, I went upstairs to get the forged documents. I didn't look at my bed, didn't look at the closet, just grabbed the manila folder off my dresser and came back down. My uncle was already in the living room, sitting in my grandmother's old recliner, the one she used to read in every night. Susan showed up at exactly noon. I saw her car pull into the driveway through the front window. She got out slowly, one hand on her stomach even though she was only like 4 months along and barely showing. She was wearing sweatpants and one of Mike's oversized hoodies, the gray one he always wore. No makeup, hair in a messy bun. She looked tired. I opened the door before she could knock. She walked in and saw my uncle immediately. Her whole face changed. "Why is he here?" "He's a witness." "A witness to what?" "I thought we were going to talk." "We are. Sit down." She looked at my uncle, then at me, then at the couch. She sat down slowly, both hands on her stomach now like she was protecting the baby from us. "If this is about the furniture I left in the hallway, I was going to come get it, but I've been dealing with morning sickness and..." I dropped the forged deed on the coffee table in front of her. The paper made a slapping sound against the wood. Susan stopped talking mid-sentence. Her eyes went to the document, then to me, then back to the paper. "What is that?" Her voice was really careful, really controlled. "You tell me." She picked it up with both hands, looked it over like she was reading it for the first time, took her time with it. Finally, she put it back down. "I've never seen seen this before. Really? Because it was in Mike's backpack, in my closet, where he was hiding for 6 weeks. Her face stayed blank, too blank. No surprise, no shock, no anger, nothing. Mike was in your closet? Don't. My uncle leaned forward in the chair. We found everything. The baby monitors, the notebooks where he tracked her schedule, the forged lease agreement, the fake letter pretending to be from her grandmother. Mike already told the police you put him up to it. That got a reaction. Her jaw tightened. Just for a second, but I saw it. She put the deed back down on the table very carefully. Mike's an idiot. If he did something stupid, that's on him, not me. He said you told him it was insurance, that I'd try to screw you over so you needed protection. Mike says a lot of things. He's in jail right now, charged with breaking and entering, fraud, stalking. You want to join him? Susan's hands curled into fists on her lap. She took a deep breath, held it, let it out slow. When she spoke again, her voice was completely different. Not scared, not defensive, just calm and cold. I moved in when you were 18 and scared and alone. I waited 3 years for your grandmother to die. You really think I'm leaving now? The room went dead silent. My uncle stared at her. I couldn't move, couldn't breathe. Susan kept going like she'd been holding this in for years and was finally letting it out. You were a complete mess when she died, crying every single day, didn't know how to pay the bills, didn't know what you were doing with this house. I helped you. I stayed here. I made this place feel like a home again when you were falling apart. You were planning this the whole time. My voice sounded far away, like it was coming from someone else. The pregnancy was perfect timing, honestly. No judge in the world evicts a pregnant woman about to give birth. That's just facts. And filing that deed while you're drowning in diapers and baby screams and legal bills you can't afford, you wouldn't have had the energy to fight it. You'd have just given up like you give up on everything. So Mike hiding in my closet filming me was part of your plan? Mike's a moron. She said it so casually. He got paranoid. I told him to just wait, let things play out naturally. But he got it in his head that you were onto us, so he went overboard with all the surveillance crap. Honestly, you should be thanking me. I could have done way worse. Could have really destroyed you. My uncle stood up. You need to leave, right now. Susan didn't move. She looked at me, not at him. You're going to regret this. Both of you. I have 6,000 followers on social media. You think they're going to side with you when I tell them what really happened? Rich kid inherits a house and kicks out a pregnant woman who was her grandmother's favorite? Who helped take care of her when she was dying? Try me. Susan, I'll be out of here in 3 days, she interrupted. But don't think for a second that this is over. It's not even close to over. She stood up, grabbed her purse off the couch, walked to the door, didn't slam it, just opened it calmly and walked out like she'd just won an argument instead of confessing to fraud and conspiracy. My uncle looked at me after the door closed. She's bluffing. What if she's not? What if she actually does that? Posts some sob story and turns everyone against me? Then we bury her with the truth. We have evidence. We have Mike's confession to the police. We have the forged documents. She's got nothing but a social media following and a baby on the way. That might be enough. It won't be. Trust me. But I wasn't sure. I'd seen how fast things could turn online. One viral post and you're labeled a monster forever. Doesn't matter what the truth is. I went upstairs that night, but I still couldn't make myself go into my bedroom. Instead, I went to my grandmother's room. I hadn't spent much time in there since she died. It hurt too much. But now I needed to feel close to her. The room still smelled faintly like her lavender lotion. Her books were still stacked on the nightstand, bookmarks in random places where she'd stopped reading, her reading glasses on top, her slippers by the bed. I sat on the edge of her bed and just looked around. That's when I noticed her desk in the corner, the old wooden one she'd had since before I was born. She used to sit there every morning and write in her journal while she drank her coffee. I walked over and opened the top drawer. The journal was right there. Blue cover, faded from years of use. The edges were worn soft. I'd seen her write in it a million times, but I'd never read it. It felt like an invasion of privacy. But she was gone now, and I needed to know if she'd seen what Susan really was. I opened it to the first page. The date at the top was from 7 years ago. Her handwriting was neat and looping, easy to read. I skipped ahead to 3 years ago, the month Susan moved in. College girl needs cheap room, seems sweet, bright future ahead if she stays focused. Hope she does well in school. I kept reading. A few months later, the entries started changing. Susan barely goes to class anymore, worried about her boyfriend. He seems controlling, doesn't like that she has her own life. Then a few weeks after that, Susan asked to borrow money again. Third time this month. I said no. She didn't like that, got very cold with me. My hands started shaking. I flipped forward through the pages. More entries about Susan. Caught Susan going through the mail today. She said she was looking for her package, but I didn't order anything, and neither did my name. Don't trust her anymore. Susan went through my papers when I was sleeping. Caught her in my office at 2 a.m. She said she was looking for a pen, but my office has 3 pen holders on the desk. She's lying. Told my name not to renew Susan's lease, but I'm too weak to enforce it. Too sick to deal with the conflict. I kept reading, my heart pounding harder with each page. The entries got shorter as my grandmother got sicker. Her handwriting got shakier, harder to read, but she kept writing about Susan. Susan keeps asking about the house deed, where I keep important documents. If my name knows how much the house is worth, something's wrong. She's planning something. Then the very last entry, 1 week before my grandmother died. The handwriting was barely legible, like it took all her strength to write it. Susan keeps asking about the house deed, where I keep documents. If my name knows how much it's worth, I'm changing my will tomorrow to protect my name. Susan cannot have this house. She cannot have it. My name needs to know. Susan is not who she pretends to be. That was it. The last thing my grandmother ever wrote. She died that same night. Heart failure in her sleep. The will was never changed. She'd run out of time. I sat there on her bed holding the journal, and I just started crying. Not the quiet kind. The ugly kind where you can't breathe. My grandmother had seen it. She'd seen exactly what Susan was. She'd tried to protect me. She'd tried to stop it, but she died before she could. I heard my uncle's footsteps on the stairs. He knocked softly on the doorframe. "You okay?" I held up the journal. She knew. My grandmother knew what Susan was doing. She was going to change her will to protect me, but she died before she could. He came over and I handed him the journal. He read through the entries I'd found, his face getting harder with each page. When he finished, he looked at me. "This changes everything." "What do you mean?" "Susan's whole plan relies on people thinking your grandmother loved her, that she was this sweet girl who helped take care of a dying woman. That's the story she's going to tell online, right? Poor pregnant girl who was basically family, kicked out by the heartless granddaughter. Yeah, but this journal proves your grandmother didn't trust her, suspected her of going through private papers, caught her stealing, was actively trying to remove her from the house before she died. Nobody's going to support Susan when they see this." I pulled out my phone. My hands were still shaking, but I managed to take clear photos of every page that mentioned Susan, every entry, every date, every piece of evidence that my grandmother had seen through Susan's act. Then I sent Susan a text, just one line. "My grandmother knew what you were. She wrote about you for 2 years. She was going to change her will to specifically exclude you the day before she died." I attached a photo of the last journal entry, the one where my grandmother said Susan couldn't have the house. I didn't expect a response, but 30 minutes later I heard a car screech into the driveway, then pounding on the front door. My uncle looked at me. "Don't open it," but the pounding got louder. Susan was screaming through the door. "Let me in! Let me see it! You're lying!" My uncle went downstairs. I followed with the journal. He opened the door and Susan pushed past him into the house. She looked completely different from earlier. Her face was red and blotchy like she'd been crying. Her hair was falling out of the bun. "That journal is fake. You made it up. There's no way she wrote that." "She did." I held it up. Every word. "She loved me. She told me I was like a daughter to her." "No, she didn't. Read it yourself." I opened to one of the earlier entries and started reading out loud. "Susan went through my papers when I was sleeping. Caught her in my office. She said she was looking for a pen. She's lying." Susan's face went white. "Let me see it." "No. Let me see the journal." "Why? So you can destroy it?" She grabbed for it and my uncle stepped between us. "Back up. Now." Susan looked at him, then at me. I pulled out my phone and showed her more photos. Entry after entry, dates going back years, things only my grandmother would know. Details about Susan's behavior, her boyfriend, her dropping out of school, her asking for money. Susan read them on my phone screen, scrolling through with shaking hands. Her whole face changed. The color drained out. She sat down hard on the bottom step of the staircase. "This ruins everything," she whispered. "Good," I said. Susan looked up at me and for the first time since I'd met her, she looked actually scared. "You don't understand. I needed this house. I needed people to think she wanted me here, that I was good to her, that I deserved to stay. You didn't deserve any of it." "I know!" She screamed it. Actually screamed. "I know I didn't, but no one else was supposed to know that." She stood up fast and grabbed my arm. Her nails dug in. "Destroy it. Burn the journal. I'll leave quietly. I'll disappear. You'll never hear from me again. Just destroy it." I pulled my arm away. "No, please. You have no idea what this will do to me. What people will think. I don't care what people think. This is the truth." Susan's whole strategy was falling apart right there in my hallway. I could see it happening in real time. Her face went through about 5 different emotions. Fear, anger, desperation, calculation. She'd been planning this for so long. The sweet college girl who helped the dying grandmother. The pregnant victim kicked out by the heartless heir. That was the story she was going to sell. That was how she was going to win public opinion and make me look like a monster. But now there was proof. Written proof in my grandmother's own handwriting that she didn't trust Susan, that she'd caught her going through private papers, that she'd suspected her of planning something, that she'd actively wanted her out of the house. No one would support Susan now. The narrative was destroyed. "Fine," Susan said. Her voice changed again. Got mean. "Then I'll make sure everyone knows you let your grandmother die alone because you were too busy partying and living your life. That she called for you and you didn't come home until it was too late. That's not what happened. Doesn't matter. I was here. I saw everything. Who do you think people will believe?" My uncle stepped forward. "Say another word, and this conversation is being recorded." I pulled out my phone and held it up. Hit record. Made sure Susan could see the red dot. "Keep talking, please." Susan's eyes went to the phone, then to me. You could see her brain working, trying to figure a way out. "You're recording me? I've been recording since you walked in the door. You just admitted on tape that you waited 3 years for my grandmother to die, that you planned the pregnancy for timing, that you were going to file forged documents while I was overwhelmed with a newborn in the house, that you targeted this house specifically." She opened her mouth, closed it, opened it again. Nothing came out. "You also just said you'd lie about my grandmother's death to destroy my reputation, and that there would be a next house, a next target. You said you could have done worse, meaning you've done this before, or you've thought about doing it again." Susan took a step back. "I didn't. It's all recorded. Everything." I held up the phone. "And you know what I'm going to do with this recording? I'm sending it to the police, along with the forged documents, along with Mike's notebooks and the surveillance equipment, along with my grandmother's journal. And then I'm sending copies to every landlord group in the state, every tenant advocacy organization, every housing court. Everyone is going to know exactly what you are." Susan's hands were shaking. "You can't do that. I'm pregnant. That's not a shield. That doesn't give you the right to steal someone's house. You can't do this to me. I'm giving you 6 hours to get everything out of here. Every single thing you own. After that, everything I just described gets sent out. To everyone. I don't have anywhere to go. That's not my problem. You should have thought about that before you spent 3 years planning to commit fraud." Susan looked at my uncle like he might help her. He just stared back. No sympathy, no emotion. She looked back at me. You're really going to do this? Destroy a pregnant woman's life? You tried to steal my house. You put your boyfriend in my closet to spy on me for 6 weeks. You forged legal documents. You manipulated my dying grandmother. Yeah, I'm really going to do this. People will hate you for this. Let them. I have the truth. You've got nothing but lies. Susan grabbed her purse. Her whole body was tense like she might explode, but instead she just turned and walked to the door. Hand on the doorknob, she turned back one more time. 6 hours isn't enough time. Then you better hurry. She left. The door closed behind her and I just stood there shaking. My uncle took the phone from me. That was good. You did good. You stayed calm and you got everything on record. She's going to try something. She won't just leave quietly. Probably not, but we're ready now. 4 hours later, a moving truck pulled up outside. I watched from the upstairs window. Susan got out with 2 guys I'd never seen before. Friends of Mike's maybe, or guys she hired. They started loading boxes and furniture. She didn't have that much. Most of the baby furniture was already gone. I donated it to that women's shelter after she moved out the first time. The rest was just her clothes, some books, random stuff. She kept looking up at the windows like she knew I was watching. I was. I wanted to make sure she actually left, that she took everything, that she didn't try to hide something or leave something behind that she could use as an excuse to come back. My uncle was downstairs in the kitchen, also watching through the window over the sink. Jack and Kim were both home too. I'd filled them in on everything and they were keeping an eye out just in case Susan tried something. Kim had been so angry when I told her about Mike in the closet. That's so violating. I can't believe she did that to you. And we were living here the whole time. We could have been in danger too. Jack had just shaken his head. I knew something was off about her. The way she talked to people. Always playing victim but never actually helping with anything. The moving truck was almost full. Susan made one more trip into the house. I heard her downstairs in what used to be her room. Drawers opening and closing. Then silence. Then her footsteps on the stairs. She stopped in the kitchen. I could hear her talking to my uncle. I'm leaving the forged documents on the counter. Why? Because she'll need proof when I tell everyone she fabricated evidence against a pregnant woman. When I show people what kind of person she really is. Those documents are evidence in a criminal case. You can't take them. I'm not taking them. I'm leaving them here. Like I said, Susan, I'm done. I'm out. This is over. The front door opened and closed. I watched from the window as she got in her car. The moving truck pulled away first, then Susan's car. She sat there for a minute before starting the engine. Just sat there staring at the house. Then she drove away. I went downstairs. My uncle was in the kitchen looking at the documents Susan left on the counter, the forged deed, the fake lease, the letter with my grandmother's signature. There was a note on top written on a torn piece of notebook paper. Keep them. You'll need proof when I tell everyone you fabricated evidence against a pregnant woman. My uncle picked it up and read it. She's desperate. She's screwed, I said. The journal is dated. The surveillance equipment has timestamps on the recordings. Mike's notebooks are in his own handwriting with dates going back months. She has no defense. But she's going to try anyway. She'll post something online, probably tonight, try to get ahead of the story. He was right. That night around 9 p.m., my phone started blowing up. Text messages from people I barely knew, Facebook notifications, Instagram tags. Someone sent me a screenshot. Susan had posted a long story on her Facebook. I read it and felt sick all over again. I need to share what's happening to me because I'm scared and alone, and I don't know what else to do. 3 years ago, I moved into a house to help take care of an elderly woman who was dying. She became like a grandmother to me. She told me I was family. When she passed away, her granddaughter inherited the house. I stayed on as a tenant, paying rent every month, helping maintain the house, being a good person. A few months ago, I found out I was pregnant. I was so happy. I thought I finally had stability and a place to raise my child. But the landlord, the granddaughter, started treating me terribly. She wanted my room for herself. She made up lies about my boyfriend. She violated my privacy. And then she evicted me while I'm 4 months pregnant with nowhere to go. When I tried to talk to her about it, she fabricated evidence against me. She claims I forged documents and that my boyfriend was stalking her. None of it is true. She's doing this because she wants me gone and she doesn't care that I'm carrying a baby. I'm heartbroken. The woman I thought was family has turned into my worst nightmare. If anyone knows of resources for pregnant women facing homelessness, please let me know. I'm terrified for my baby's future. The post had over 200 shares already. The comments were brutal. This is disgusting. How can you evict a pregnant woman? Landlords are scum. This girl needs a lawyer. I can't believe someone would do this. Karma will get her. Where's the GoFundMe? I want to help. My phone kept buzzing. People I went to high school with were messaging me asking if it was true. Friends of friends demanding answers. Someone tagged me in the comments calling me a soulless monster. I showed the post to my uncle. He read it and his jaw clenched. Okay, now we respond. How? With the truth. All of it. My uncle helped me write a response. We didn't post it publicly. Instead, I sent a private message to Susan first. I see you posted your story. Here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to give you 24 hours to take it down and post a public apology. If you don't, I'm releasing everything. The police report from Mike's arrest, the photos of him hiding in my closet, the forged documents, my grandmother's journal entries about you, the recording of you admitting you waited for her to die. All of it, publicly. You have 24 hours. I didn't expect her to take it down. She didn't. The next morning, the post was still up and had over 500 shares. People were starting a GoFundMe for her. She'd raised almost $2,000 overnight. That's when I posted my response. I didn't write a long emotional story like Susan did. I just posted facts. Screenshots of the police report showing Mike's arrest for breaking and entering, stalking, and fraud. Photos of the surveillance equipment found in my closet. Photos of the notebooks tracking my daily schedule. Photos of the forged property deed with Susan listed as co-owner. Photos of my grandmother's journal entries with dates, showing she didn't trust Susan and suspected her of going through private papers. And finally, a transcript of the recording where Susan admitted she'd waited 3 years for my grandmother to die and had planned to file the forged documents while I was overwhelmed with a newborn. I included timestamps for everything, dates, evidence. I ended with one paragraph. This woman moved into my grandmother's house 3 years ago. My grandmother caught her going through private documents and wrote in her journal that Susan could not have this house. Susan's boyfriend hid in my closet for 6 weeks filming me without consent. They forged legal documents to try to steal my property. When confronted, Susan admitted on recording that she planned all of this. These are the facts. This is the evidence. She is not a victim. She is a criminal. I tagged Susan in the post. Hit share. Within an hour, everything changed. The comments on Susan's original post turned. People started demanding answers, calling her a liar, sharing my post. The GoFundMe got reported and taken down. People who donated started demanding refunds. Susan's friends who'd been defending her went silent. My post got shared over 1,000 times in the first 3 hours. Local news picked it up by that evening. Not the story Susan wanted, the real one. Woman arrested for fraud and stalking after attempting to steal house through forged documents. They interviewed the police detective handling Mike's case. She confirmed everything. The evidence, the arrest, the ongoing investigation into Susan as an accomplice. Susan's face was all over the local news, not as the victim, as the suspect. The college dropout who targeted a dying woman's house. The girl who'd planted her boyfriend in someone's closet. The con artist with forged documents. Her social media went private. Her phone number changed. Her friends stopped defending her. Within a week, everyone knew the truth. I got messages from people apologizing for judging me. The ones who'd called me heartless and cruel were deleting their comments and pretending they never said anything. Some people doubled down, saying I still should have let a pregnant woman stay. But most people got it. Most people saw Susan for what she was. The police called me a few days later. The detective assigned to the case. Her name was Detective Ramirez. We need you to come in and give a formal statement, and bring the journal if you still have it. I went to the station with my uncle. We brought everything. The journal, the forged documents, the recordings, all the photos. Detective Ramirez was in her late 30s, short dark hair, no-nonsense attitude. She sat us down in an interview room and went through everything piece by piece. This is one of the most premeditated cases I've seen in a while, she said, flipping through Mike's notebooks. He documented everything, dates, times, your routines. This is textbook stalking. Is Susan going to be arrested? We're building the case now. The forged documents are enough for fraud charges. The question is whether we can prove she directed Mike to do the surveillance, or if he acted alone. She admitted it on the recording. I know, but a good defense attorney will argue you provoked her, that she was emotional, that it's hearsay. It's her voice. I believe you, but we need to build an airtight case. That means going through everything. Mike's phone records, text messages between him and Susan, financial records showing if she paid for any of the equipment. How long will that take? A few weeks? Maybe a month? But I'll be honest with you, she's going to lawyer up the second we bring her in. And she's pregnant. That complicates things. Complicates how? Judges don't like sending pregnant women to jail, even when they've committed crimes. She'll use that, play the victim card as hard as she can. But the evidence is solid, I know, but this is how the system works. She might take a plea deal, serve probation instead of jail time. I felt my stomach drop. So she just gets away with it? She won't get away with it. She'll have a record. She'll do probation. She'll have to pay restitution. But yeah, she probably won't see the inside of a jail cell. I looked at my uncle. He was pissed. I could see it in his face. What about Mike? Detective Ramirez smiled. Not a happy smile, a satisfied one. Mike's going away. He's already confessed to everything. His lawyer's trying to work out a plea deal, but we're pushing for the maximum. 5 years for stalking, breaking and entering, and fraud. He'll serve at least 3. Good. He also gave up Susan in his statement. Said she planned the whole thing. That she told him exactly what to do, where to hide, when to record. He's trying to reduce his sentence by cooperating. Will it work? Maybe. But he's still going to prison. That's guaranteed. Susan got arrested 2 weeks later, early morning. The police showed up at her parents' house where she'd been staying, took her in for questioning. She was released the same day on bail, but the charges were filed. Conspiracy to commit fraud, forgery, attempted theft. Her mugshot made the local news that night. She looked terrible. No makeup, hair messy, eyes red like she'd been crying. The news anchor read the charges and showed clips of the forged documents, showed the police report, mentioned Mike's arrest and upcoming trial. Susan's lawyer released a statement. My client maintains her innocence. She was manipulated by her boyfriend and is herself a victim in this situation. We look forward to presenting the facts in court. It was garbage. Everyone knew it. The evidence was overwhelming, but her lawyer was going to try. That's their job. The preliminary hearing was set for 6 weeks out. My uncle's lawyer said I'd probably have to testify, that Susan's defense would try to make me look vindictive and cruel, that they'd bring up the eviction and try to paint me as someone with a grudge. Let them try, I said. I've got nothing to hide. The weeks passed slowly. Susan tried reaching out a few times. Texts from new numbers I didn't recognize. We can still work this out. Drop the charges and I'll disappear. You're ruining my baby's life. I'm sorry for everything. Please. I didn't respond to any of them, just forwarded them to Detective Ramirez. She said it was good I was documenting everything, that it showed Susan's pattern of manipulation. Jack and Kim were amazing through all of this. Kim made sure I ate because I kept forgetting. Jack installed extra locks on all the doors and windows even though Susan was banned from coming within 500 feet of the house. Just to be safe, he said. I finally cleaned out my bedroom, ripped up the carpet where Mike had been, painted the walls a different color, got a new bed frame and mattress, threw out anything that reminded me of what happened. It took 3 days and my uncle helped with all of it. When we were done, it looked like a completely different room. How does it feel? He asked. Better. Not perfect, but better. That's all you can ask for. The preliminary hearing happened on a Tuesday morning in early June. I had to be there even though I wasn't testifying yet. My uncle came with me. The courthouse was downtown, old building with marble floors and high ceilings. We sat in the gallery. Susan came in with her lawyer, a middle-aged man in an expensive suit. She was showing now, probably 6 months along. She was wearing a dress that emphasized it. Strategic. Her lawyer did most of the talking, argued that the evidence was circumstantial, that Susan had been manipulated by Mike, that she was a victim of coercive control. The prosecutor wasn't having it. Your Honor, we have forged documents in the defendant's handwriting. We have a recording of the defendant admitting to planning the fraud. We have witness testimony. This is not a case of manipulation. This is calculated theft. The judge, an older woman with gray hair and reading glasses, looked through the evidence files. She took her time. Finally, she spoke. I'm allowing this to proceed to trial. Bail is continued, but the defendant is ordered to have no contact with the victim or any witnesses. Preliminary trial date is set for September 15th. Susan's lawyer tried to argue for the charges to be reduced. The judge shut him down. Counselor, your client allegedly forged legal documents to steal property and enlisted another person to conduct surveillance on the victim for weeks. These are serious charges. We'll hear the full case at trial. We left the courthouse and I felt like I could breathe again. It was really happening. She was going to trial. My uncle bought me lunch at a diner near the courthouse. You did it, he said. It's not over yet. No, but you got this far. A lot of people would have given up. I couldn't. This is my grandmother's house, my home. She left it to me. She'd be proud of you, fighting for it. I thought about my grandmother's journal, the last entry where she said Susan couldn't have the house. She'd known. She'd tried to protect me. I hope so. The trial got delayed twice. Susan's lawyer kept filing motions, trying to get evidence thrown out, trying to get the case dismissed. Nothing worked. Finally, in late October, the trial date was set for real. November 18th. I'd have to testify. Detective Ramirez prepped me, told me what to expect. Susan's lawyer is going to try to rattle you, make you seem emotional or vindictive. Just stick to the facts. Answer the questions simply. Don't elaborate unless asked. What if I mess up? You won't. You know what happened. You lived it. Just tell the truth. The trial lasted 3 days. Day 1 was jury selection and opening statements. I sat in the gallery again with my uncle. Susan's lawyer painted her as a young woman who'd made mistakes but was ultimately a victim of her boyfriend's manipulation. The prosecutor laid out the evidence methodically. The forged documents, the surveillance, the journal entries, the recorded confession. Day 2 was witness testimony. Mike testified first, brought in from jail in an orange jumpsuit and handcuffs. He looked worse than the last time I'd seen him. Thinner, pale. He told the jury everything. How Susan had asked him to hide in the closet, how she'd given him the notebooks to track my schedule, how she'd practiced forging my grandmother's signature for months. She said it was the only way we'd have a stable place for the baby, Mike said. She said the house should have been hers anyway because she'd taken care of the old lady. Susan's lawyer tried to discredit him. Isn't it true you're testifying against my client in exchange for a reduced sentence? Yes. So you have motivation to lie. I'm not lying. I did what Susan told me to do. Day 3 was my turn. I wore a simple blue dress, nothing flashy. My uncle squeezed my hand before I walked to the witness stand. The prosecutor went first. Asked me to describe how I met Susan, how she'd moved in, what happened after my grandmother died. I told the story chronologically, finding the baby monitor, the breathing in the closet, Mike hiding in there, the forged documents, my grandmother's journal, Susan's recorded confession. And how did you feel when you discovered someone had been living in your closet for 6 weeks? Violated, scared, like my entire home wasn't safe anymore. Thank you. No further questions. Susan's lawyer stood up. He smiled at me, but it didn't reach his eyes. Ms., you inherited a valuable property when your grandmother died, correct? Yes. And you immediately started renting out rooms for profit. I needed to pay the bills. The house is expensive to maintain, but you were making money off of tenants. I charged fair rent, $400 a month. And when Susan became pregnant, you saw an opportunity to evict her and raise the rent for a new tenant. No, I evicted her because she violated her lease agreement. By getting pregnant? By giving an unauthorized person a key to my house and allowing him to stay there without my permission. But you have cameras in your home. Isn't that also a violation of privacy? The cameras are in common areas only, and they're disclosed in the lease agreement. Susan signed it. But you used those cameras to spy on her. I used them to confirm she'd violated her lease after she told me she'd given Mike a key. He switched tactics. You claim my client forged documents, but you have no proof she created them, only that they existed. They were in Mike's backpack, and Susan admitted on recording that she'd planned to file them. That recording was made under duress. My client was emotional and scared. She was calm, and she admitted everything voluntarily. You also claim your grandmother didn't trust Susan, but you only have a journal that conveniently supports your narrative. My grandmother wrote in that journal for 7 years. The entries about Susan match her handwriting and are consistent with other entries from the same time period. How convenient that you found it right when you needed it, the prosecutor objected. Your Honor, counsel is badgering the witness. Sustained. Move on, counselor. Susan's lawyer tried a few more angles, but nothing landed. The evidence was too solid. The jury deliberated for 4 hours. When they came back, the 4 women stood up. On the count of conspiracy to commit fraud, we find the defendant guilty. On the count of forgery, we find the defendant guilty. On the count of attempted theft, we find the defendant guilty. Susan started crying. Her lawyer put his hand on her shoulder. The judge set sentencing for 3 weeks later. Susan was taken into custody immediately. Her bail was revoked. I watched as they put handcuffs on her and led her out of the courtroom. She looked back at me once. I didn't look away. Sentencing day was cold and rainy. November had turned brutal. I wore a coat and boots and sat in the same spot in the gallery. Susan was brought in wearing a jail uniform, orange. Her hair was greasy and pulled back. She'd had the baby 2 weeks earlier, a boy. Her parents were taking care of him. The judge read through the case details and the jury's verdict. Then she looked at Susan. Ms. Susan, you orchestrated a calculated plan to defraud the rightful owner of a property by forging legal documents and enlisting another person to conduct invasive surveillance. You violated trust, privacy, and the law. However, I'm taking into account that you recently gave birth and have no prior criminal record. She paused. I'm sentencing you to 2 years in county jail, suspended, with 5 years of probation. You will pay full restitution to the victim for legal fees and damages. You will complete 500 hours of community service. You will have no contact with the victim or any witnesses. If you violate any terms of your probation, you will serve the full 2 years. Do you understand? Susan nodded. Yes, Your Honor. You're very lucky. This could have been much worse. Susan was released that day, probation instead of jail. I left the courthouse and sat in my uncle's truck in the parking lot. You okay? He asked. She's not going to jail. No, but she has a record now. She can't do this to anyone else without it following her. It doesn't feel like enough. It never does. But you won. You kept your house. You exposed what she was. That matters. I looked out the window at the rain. I know. We drove home in silence. When we pulled into the driveway, I looked at the house. My grandmother's house. The one she'd left me. The one Susan had tried to steal. I'd fought for it. I'd won. That had to be enough. Inside, Jack and Kim had made dinner. Spaghetti and garlic bread. We sat around the kitchen table and ate together. Nobody talked about the trial. We just existed in the same space, safe and warm. Later that night, I went upstairs to my room, the new room that didn't feel contaminated anymore. I sat on my bed and pulled out my phone, scrolled through the messages from people I barely knew, congratulating me, saying justice was served. I deleted most of them. Then I opened the photo app and found the picture I'd taken of my grandmother's last journal entry. Susan cannot have this house. I whispered to the empty room. I know, Grandma, she didn't get it. I put my phone on the nightstand and lay back on my bed. For the first time in months, I felt like I could sleep.